Hi boys and girls, let's start part 2 of the egg sac. As Wilbur was studying the web, a pair of whiskers and a sharp face appeared. Slowly, Templeton dragged himself across the pen and threw himself down in a corner. "I'm back," he said in a husky voice. What a night! The rat was swollen to twice his normal size. His stomach was as big around as a jelly jar. "What a night," he repeated hoarsely. "What feasting and carousing. A real gorge. I must have eaten the remains of 30 lunches. Never have I seen such leavings, and even everything well ripened and seasoned with the passage of time and the heat of the day. Oh, I was rich. Oh, it was rich, my friends, rich." "You ought to be ashamed of yourself," said Charlotte in disgust. "It would serve you right if you had an acute attack of indigestion." "Don't worry about my stomach," snarled Templeton. "It can handle anything. And by the way, I've got some bad news. As I came past that pig next door, the one that calls himself Uncle, I noticed a blue tag on the front of his pen. That means he has won first prize. I guess you're licked, Wilbur. You might as well relax. Nobody is going to hang any medal on you. Furthermore, I won't be surprised if Zuckerman changes his mind about you. Wait till he gets hankering for some fresh pork and smoked ham and crisp bacon. He'll take the knife to you, my boy." "Be still, Templeton," said Charlotte. "You're too stuffed and bloated to know what you're saying. Don't pay any attention to him, Wilbur." Wilbur tried not to think about what the rat had just said. He decided to change the subject. "Templeton," said Wilbur, "if you were so dopey, you would have noticed. I'm going to go back and read that sentence because I think I misread another word. So that's what I want you guys to do too, boys and girls. Always remember to go back and reread things when you think you've skipped a word or something didn't make sense. So let's go back and reread that. "Templeton and Wilbur, Templeton," said Wilbur, "if you weren't so dopey, you would have noticed that Charlotte has made an egg sac. She is going to become a mother. For your information, there are 514 eggs in that peachy little sac." "Is this true?" asked the rat, eyeing the sac suspiciously. "Yes, it's true," sighed Charlotte. "Congratulations," murmured Templeton. "This has been a night." He closed his eyes, pulled some straw over himself, and dropped off into a deep sleep. Wilbur and Charlotte were glad to be rid of him for a while. At 9 o'clock, Mr. Arabelle's truck rolled into the fairgrounds and came to a stop at Wilbur's pen. Everybody climbed out. "Look," cried Fern. "Look at Charlotte's web. Look what it says." The grown-ups and the children joined hands and stood there, studying the new sign. "Humble," said Mr. Zuckerman. "Now isn't that just the word for Wilbur?" Everyone rejoiced to find that the miracle of the web had been repeated. Wilbur gazed up lovingly into their faces. He looked very humble and very grateful. Fern winked at Charlotte. Larrabee soon got busy. He poured a bucket of warm slops into the trough, and while Wilbur ate his breakfast, Larrabee scratched him gently with a smooth stick. "Wait a minute," cried Avery. "Look at this." He pointed to the blue tag on Uncle's pen. "This pig has won first prize already." The Zuckermans and Arabelle stared at the tag. Miss Zuckerman began to cry. Nobody said a word. They just stared at the tag. Then they stared at Uncle. Then they stared at the tag again. Larrabee took out an enormous handkerchief and blew his nose very loudly. So loud, in fact, that the noise was heard by stable boys over at the horse barn. "Can I have some money?" asked Fern. "I want to go out on the Midway." "You stay right where you are," said her mother. Tears came to Fern's eyes. "What's everybody crying about?" asked Mr. Zuckerman. "Let's get busy, Edith. Bring the buttermilk." Mrs. Zuckerman wiped her eyes with her handkerchief. She went to the truck and came back with a gallon jar of buttermilk. "Bath time," said Zuckerman cheerfully. He and Mrs. Zuckerman and Avery climbed into Wilbur's pen. Avery slowly poured buttermilk on Wilbur's head. and back, and as it trickled down his sides and cheeks, Mr. and Mrs. Zuckerman rubbed it into his hair and skin. Passers-by stopped to watch. Pretty soon, quite a crowd had gathered. I'm going to stop there and join me for part 3 of the chapter, The Egg Sac.